All right, class. Today we're going to practice converting fractions, decimals, and percents. Our first column, a fraction. How do you convert a fraction to a decimal? All right, the way to convert a fraction to a decimal is, let's say you have fraction A over B. Well, to convert that to a decimal, you need to divide. A goes in the house, and you divide it by B. To convert a fraction to a decimal, the top number goes in the house, and you divide by the bottom. So again, to convert a fraction to a decimal, let's say you have fraction A over B. What you need to do, you need to divide it. A divided by B, or top divided by bottom. So let's do an example of this. Let's say we have fraction 1/4. Well, 1 would go in the house, and you would divide it by 4. Does 4 go into 1? No. So you have to create a decimal 0. All right, now does 4 go into 10? Yes, it does. 2 times, because 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract 10 minus 8 is 2. Now we have to create another 0. We take our 0, we bring it down, and we have 20. Now we ask ourselves, okay, how many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times, because 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract and we get 0. That is how we convert a fraction to a decimal. That's how we convert a fraction to a decimal. Okay, so now let's look at converting a fraction to a percent. To do that, you simply set up a percent proportion. Do a percent proportion. You do a percent proportion. That's all you need to do. Okay, so let's set it up. Let's convert 4/5 into a percent. Well, I need to set up my percent proportion. So to convert 4/5 into a percent, I set up my percent proportion. There's my percent proportion. Well, 4/5 would go right here. I would cross multiply 4 times 100 to give me 400. I would then divide it by 5. Goes in 8 times. To get 80%. And 80% would be my answer. So to go from a fraction to a percent, you set up a percent proportion. To go from a fraction to a percent, you set up a percent proportion. Okay, so now we're converting a decimal to a percent. To convert a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 times to the right. To convert a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 times to the right. To convert a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 times to the right. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's say I have decimal 0.37. Well, all I would do is 1 2 times so that that becomes 37%. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say I have 0.253. Let's say I have 0.253. 1 2 times so that it becomes 25.3%. 25.3%. All right. How do we convert a decimal to a fraction? Well, let's say we have decimal AB. We just put it over 100. Or you have decimal A, you put it over 10. So to convert a decimal to 100, or to a fraction, you just dot your lowercase I and put a 0 under each number. Let's try another one. Let's say we have 0.2. There we go. You make your lowercase I. See how that looks like a lowercase I, like an ice cream? You put a 0 under the number, and there you go. This becomes 2/10. Or if I was to reduce it, I would get 1/5. I would get 1/5. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say I have 0.33. I would just dot my lowercase I, put a 0 under each number, and there we go. So that it becomes 33 over 100. And there is our answer. Okay, last section, percent to a fraction. How do we convert a percent to a fraction? Any guesses? You just put it over 100. You have your percent over 100, and then you reduce, if you can. You just put the percent over 100, and you reduce it. Okay, let's see an example of this. An example. Let's say we have 21%. Okay, I just put that over 100. Gives me 21 over 100, and I'm done. Can I reduce it? No, I can't. No, I can't. So let's try another one. Let's try one we can reduce. Let's say 30%. Well, how would I convert 30% to a fraction? I would simply just put it over 100. Put it over 100, and then reduce if I can. So that becomes 30 over 100, which reduce becomes 3 over 10. So to convert a percent to a fraction, you put it over 100, and that's it. All right, so how do we convert a percent to a decimal? Well, you move the decimal 2 times to the left. Okay, to convert a percent to a decimal, you move the decimal 2 times to the left. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's say we have 2.5%. 2.5%. Well, I take that decimal and I go 1, 2, so that it becomes 0.025. Or let's say we have 31%. Well, hey, Miss McBee, there's no decimal at 31. Well, you should know this, that the decimal, if it's a whole number, would be right there. 1, 2 times to the left, 0.31. And that is how you convert a percent to a decimal.